The morning after, the All Blacks beat Uruguay by 73 points to nil, and a few talking points to come out of the game, boys. Firstly, seems to be a little bit of negativity around the result, Jeff.
Well, when you play as well as you did the week before and you make 9 changes, it's always going to be difficult to back that up. And then this group, it took them 20 minutes to get on the board. Then they scored 73 points. But amazingly, there has been a lot of comment about the fact that maybe it wasn't good enough, wasn't sharp enough. They got denied, 3 tries, Mills. There's certainly a lot of conversation about what happened in the first 20 minutes. We as commentators found some of it a little bit surprising, a little bit baffling. But I think the All Blacks ultimately did what they needed to do right. They got 5 points. They're now guaranteed their quarterfinal spot. I'm not sure there was much more they could have done. They were never gonna probably back up what they did against Italy. And look, Uruguay got within 20 points of France, but apparently 73-0's not quite good enough.
No, like I was pretty impressed with the way they played yesterday. I think you're always going to come out. Teams are going to come out hard, and I think what the All Blacks would have found, particularly, is that sort of physicality around the rucks. That's possibly a preview of what's to come, and so you're always going to get there. Well, I love the fact that they got themselves together, they composed themselves. A couple of individuals made really good decisions. They obviously felt they were under pressure, but it was a really solid performance in the end. They regrouped again at half-time, and then I think the pleasing part was the 0, because they were under a lot of heat in that sort of first 20-odd minutes, Nisbo.
Yeah, look, it's something that's been overlooked a wee bit. I think the defence, I think I'm right in saying, Jeff, the All Blacks in this tournament so far have not conceded a first half try.
Exactly, and I think going into this tournament, I think they also recognise that if you're going to go on and win it, your defence has to be strong, it has to be accurate. And I look at the group, and particularly to me it's the work they get through with the loose forwards, and Sam Cane got through 80 minutes. And when your open side flank is doing that, and he's making his tackles, and he's accurate, I mean, they didn't throw a lot at us, really. They were very narrow in their attack. It was actually just about making your tackles, right? Look, and our set piece was dominant at scrum time, at line-out time. And so that's where I think I'm probably a little bit frustrated at the reaction, because it was actually clearly dominant. And had they got a couple of those early tries, we could quite easily have seen what we saw the week before. So, I think all said and done, they were looking for some guys to come back. They certainly got what they wanted to see out of Damien McKenzie, how dangerous he's going to be. I would be shocked if he's not involved next weekend, Mills, after what he did on the game last night.
Well, he's answered everything, isn't he? I mean, initially not involved in the match day 23. He's come back. He's started in Toulouse. He's worked his way, and they put him back at fullback. And the decisions he made, when it's helter-skelter stuff in those first 20 minutes, you'd think he'd be the first person to keep it at that level. He didn't. He was really composed, got them down the right end of the field, made some really good decisions. I suppose when you look back now and they'll be, reflecting on their game, there's some big injury concerns, particularly up front. Yes, they got dominance in their set piece and particularly their scrums, but they've got a couple of men down, so there'll be a lot of work going in now to see sort of how healthy those guys are going to come through their injuries.
Yeah, let's talk individuals and guys who hadn't had a lot of game time. Geordie Barrett, Shannon Frizzell, Sam Cane, and you mentioned Tyrell Lomax. So how did they come through it, Jeff?
Well, obviously Lomax is the big concern. Yeah. I mean, that knee injury in the first 10 minutes, Fletcher Newell came off late in the game as well. Understand that Joe Moody back in New Zealand was held out of the quarterfinal against Auckland for Canterbury. So when you take those things into account, there's obviously some concerns right there. And I think we've got some tight head cover. I was really impressed once again with Tamaiti Williams. Whether or not he's done enough to play in a quarterfinal, I'm not 100% sure. They'll trust their experience. Geordie looked good once again. He just adds a different dynamic when he's playing. He's so direct, he's so powerful. His defence is strong. I think they've got to be really comfortable with that. And like I say, the 80-minute work from Sam Cane, and he was the guy who was back recovering possession in the 80th minute, which tells me clearly the engine's right, the energy's still there. And the one thing I am really comfortable with now is I think our leadership group is really strong. And those guys are actually playing really well. And so I look at Cody Taylor and what he's brought. Clearly Sam Whitelock, Scott Barrett. It's a luxury when you're bringing on 2 Barretts. You did mention the commentary, which I found quite amusing. The last time with the All Blacks playing without a Barrett on the field, it was about 15 minutes of last night. I can't remember before that. But when you've got that luxury, and now I'm looking at Dane Coles and I'm thinking maybe he's done enough. I'm not sure Samasoni did enough last night for us to ignore that experience of Coles going into a big game. So, look, I couldn't be the only place I have concern. clearly is the loss of Tyrell Lomax if he's not available.
Yeah, just quickly, Mills. Leicester Whainganuku got a hat-trick. Is that good enough to get into the 23 at the quarterfinals?
Look, he played outstanding. I think in terms of where the All Blacks' thinking was, I mean, Beauden Barrett is obviously, when you're putting him at fullback, it has a lot to do with what goes on the bench, particularly when you're covering sort of the, your midfield combination. Yes, I know he went to the midfield later on, but that's still a hard position for him to be able to sort of get through. So I'm not sure that the coaches will go that way. I think they'll still stick with a midfield back, possibly Anton Leonard-Brown, and stick with Beauden at the back, and then you've got McKenzie and Roygaard. I think those guys have really stood up and probably earned the right to be in the 23.
So there we are. It's farewell to Lyon. We've been here a couple of weeks. It's off to Paris and the All Blacks in the quarterfinals.